All right, everybody. So today we're going to get started by doing a little bit of a squat prep cycle. I want to get those joints of the hips warmed up. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to get seated with your hips right at the edge of your seat. And when you're in this position, your ankle should be right underneath your kneecap. Okay? Feet should be shoulder width apart. Your toes are going to be slightly turned out. If you're looking at a clock, you can think more towards like 11 and 1. Now what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you're staying balanced, but I want you to drop your elbows to the insides of your knees. You're going to take one hand, you're going to push that knee out, let that knee come back to you 2 times, and let's go 3 more. Number 3, 4, one more time. Try to get that elbow nice and straight, and number 5. When we do this on the other side, your goal is to keep that whole foot down to the ground the entire time and keep the weight of the foot in the heels, okay? So let's switch sides. Let's put both elbows again. Use your other hand on your other knee, and let's go for 1. Keep the heels down for 2. Keep the heels down for 3. Heels down for 4. And heels down for 5. Very nice. That was one part. We're going to go into another part of the series. I want you to bring your elbows and push them out with the insides of the knees. Let's use one hand and grab your opposite kneecap. The other hand, you're going to let it hang down. You're going to reach and open up and try to look up towards the sky. Come on down. As you do this, try to press your knees outward. Let's go. Number 3, we're going to do 2 more. Keep trying to press those knees out. Make sure you're staying in your heels. That's number 4. We're going to do 1 more. And number 5. Very good. Keep those knees out. Keep the weight in the heels. But let's switch sides. So I'm going to grab my other kneecap. Let my arm hang down. Reach up. Look up towards that hand for 1. Come on down. And back up for 2. Come on down and back up for 3. Let's do 2 more. And last one. Very good. Now, we're going to go into a step 3 of the series. Let's put your elbows on the insides of the knees again. You're going to make 2 fists. We're going to go one on top of the other. Bring your forehead down to those fists. And then bring your chin and look up toward the sky. So your spine's going to move in 2 directions here. This is number 2. While you're doing this, keep trying to press those knees out with your elbows. This is number 3. 2 more. Number 4. And the last one. For number 5. Very good. You can kind of come up to an upright position, shake your legs out a little bit. We are going to stand up off your couch or out of your chair, but I want your feet to be in that same position. So just to let you know what that is, shoulder width, the weight is in my heels. I'm going to put my hands as close to my ankles as I can, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring our knees forward and out. And then we're going to push the knees back and try to drop your torso lower so you get a good stretch to the back of the legs. That was 1. Let's bring the knees forward again. Drop your hips when you do that. And then press the knees back again for number 2. I'm going to go from the side so you can see. Bring the knees forward and the hips down. Try to come a little bit lower this time, but keep the weight in the heels. And let's do 1 more. Try to pull that chest up. Keep the weight in your heels. Push the knees back and get that good stretch to the hamstrings. And you can stand and kind of shake it out. We're going to get those shoulders warmed up. So a couple of things you can do. You can either grab a broomstick. If you don't have any equipment, you can use your arms, and that's fine. But what you're going to do is you're going to put your arms nice and wide on that broomstick to the point where your elbows stay straight. They shouldn't move. Okay? Keeping those arms straight, we're going to come as far back as we can. When you feel your arms are going to start bending, I want you to bring that PVC that broomstick, whatever you're using, back forward, okay? Let's come again. This is number 2. We're going to do about 10. Nice and slow. You're going to feel those shoulders and those rotator cuffs open a little bit. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to squeeze my belly the whole time. So I'm not doing this with a broken belly like this. I'm trying to keep my stomach abdominals engaged, okay? We're going to do about 3 more here. As you're loosening up, you might find you may be able to pass all the way through. If you can, great. If not, that's okay. I just want you to go where you're going to keep those arms straight. Another way to do that without equipment is going to be just doing some basic arm circles with your arms. You could do about 5 forward, 5 backward, and then feel free to mix in some huggers just to kind of get those shoulders warmed up a little bit. All right, team, so today we're going to be working on a little bit of a stretching routine. Now, this is something that I use as a good stretching technique for days that I don't do any type of strength training or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this static stretching. We're going to hold these positions based on length of time for each different movement. We're going to first begin with what we call a standing straddle, and that looks just like this. So my feet are nice and wide. My legs are going to try to stay nice and straight the whole time. Now, where you put your hands is okay. You can put your hands on your hips and stand up tall. If you have a little bit more, you can put your hands on your knees and try to hold in that stance. Or you can put your hands on the ground if flexibility allows it. You'll see what that does is that it walks my legs out a little bit more. The most important thing is that the legs stay straight. We are going to hold this position for about 2 minutes. And your goal as we do this is to try to think of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. As that stretch allows a little bit more, and as that time continues, the more you breathe, you might find that your flexibility increases, that you'll even be able to walk your feet out a little bit more. Now, let's say this is not an option. You can do this from a seated position. Your legs will be out, your chest will be tall, and you're going to reach your hands right out in front of you. This would be a little bit easier of a way to kind of do this to gain the same best benefit, but again, make sure those legs stay nice and straight, okay? We've been stretching for about a minute. We're going to continue in whatever your position you're in for another minute. And we're going to go back to our breathing. So breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let yourself kind of relax into that stretch the more you hold it. In through the nose, out through the mouth. It should not be aggressive. You should feel a light tug kind of through the insides of the legs here, specifically on this stretch. You'll also get some feeling in the backs of the legs because the legs are straight. The seated position I'm doing now can also be modified by bringing the feet a little bit closer together, but you'll still lean forward to gain that benefit of feeling inside and then the backs of the legs as well. A couple more deep breaths. And one more big deep breath. In and out. And slowly come on out of that. Very good. Now the next stretch we're going to do is going to be for our hips. You're going to want some type of padding to be underneath your kneecap. I would recommend maybe even a couple of pillows. But what we're going to do is we are going to go to our knee. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the chair so you can see that you're going to want to have some balance for this. So I'm going to be right here by my chair. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure that my ankle is under my knee again. I'm going to stand up nice and tall, and then all I'm going to do is for 1 minute, I'm just going to bring my hip forward while I squeeze my belly, okay? Now, like I said, if this is too much pressure on the knee, I would recommend having some pillows or a couple of pads. This can also be done from a standing position where we stand and pull our weight forward. If you're standing, Make sure that your toes stay pointed forward like you're imagining them being at 12 o'clock if you're looking at a clock. So I'm going to do this from a standing position for the rest of the time. We have about 30 seconds remaining. A couple of deep breaths. In through the nose and out through the mouth. You're going to feel that stretch right here in the front of the hip pocket. 2 more deep breaths. And 1 more breath. In and out. Very good. Now, if you did it from a standing position, we're going to take the stretch and progress it a little bit. If you did it standing, try dropping on down to that knee. If you were already here on your knee, let's try to bring your hand down to the floor and bring the other hand on the inside of your knee as well. We're going to be here in this new position for 1 minute as well. So let's go back to our breathing. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Like I said, we only want to go with what we can tolerate. So if you were standing in the last stretch, you may just find just putting your knee down, keeping your chest up and your belly tight is going to be enough. And then you could also work on leaning in again. If you were in this position, you will find that you'll be in a little bit deeper of a stretch by dropping your hands down to the floor. Let's take 2 more deep breaths. And 1 more time. In and out. With whatever your position you're in, let's slowly come on out of that. Very good. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, so you can bring this knee down. I'm just going to turn just so you can see. We're going to use the other leg up this time. Again, I want to make sure that I'm having something for support and for balance. My knees are under my hips. On the front, my ankle is underneath the knee. I am sitting up nice and tall. I'm squeezing my belly. And then from here, we're going to lean in, get a nice stretch to the front of the hip. We're going to hold here for 1 minute. And like I kind of showed you on the other side, if this is too much, this can be done from a standing position as well. With whatever position you're in, you're going to feel a stretch through the front hip pocket. Let's cue into our breathing. So a nice deep breath in and out. 2 more deep breaths in and out. 1 more time in and 1 more time out. Very good. If you're standing, we're going to try to progress by dropping on down to the knee with some padding underneath your knee. If you were in this position, we're going to try to drop our hands down to the floor, but keep our chest nice and tall. We're going to be in this new position for 1 minute. So we'll make sure that we're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. You'll find that the more you breathe, the more the muscles can relax into a deeper stretch, which is what we want. We don't want it to be aggressive. We just want it to be a light tug. In this case, you're going to feel some through the front of the hip. But now if your hands are on the ground, you might feel some in the other glute back here as well, and that is okay. I don't want to have any pain in the knees. If we have any knee pain, you may want to consider going back a step. We're going to do 2 more deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. 1 more time in and out. Very good. Slowly come on out of this. Now this next stretch, we call it a seated forward fold. I'm going to do this from the side so you can see what's going on. This one I would recommend doing on the bed or a couch, something where you don't have to be necessarily right on the ground. If you're comfortable doing it on the ground, by all means. But what you're going to want your legs to stay nice and straight. That's the most important thing of this stretch. The second most important thing is that your toes come towards you. The third most important thing is that you sit up nice and tall. So you'll see that my body is shaped like an L. From here, if you can tolerate a little bit more just by leaning in and getting a nice stretch, that's okay. You'll feel this in the back of the legs. However, this might be just enough of a stretch for you to feel back here. Like all of our other stretches, we don't want it to be aggressive. We just want to feel that good little bit of tingling, pulling, tension sensation through the back of the legs, okay? We're going to be here for about another 90 seconds, which is a minute and a half. And through this minute and a half, I want to continue our breathing. So we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. I want to take 2 more breaths, and then I'll show you a different way this same stretch can be done. In through the nose, out through the mouth. If you're comfortable here, keep going with this. You're doing awesome. Another way that this stretch can be done, you're going to go back to your chair. You're going to sit right to the edge of the chair. Put one leg out in front of you. The knee is going to be what? It's going to be straight. Your toe is going to come up. Your chest is going to come up. You might find this is a good stretch as it is, but if you can do more, you're going to lean in a little bit, keeping your back nice and flat. I don't want the back to round. I want the chest to stay tall and proud. Make sure if you are going with the seated option that your bum is right towards the edge of the seat. If you sit too far back, you won't feel as good of a stretch down the back of the leg and into the ankle even a little bit too. If you are doing the seated option, make sure you do both sides. If you were doing the seated forward fold option, that would be the next progression up. One more big deep breath in and out. Very good. We just have one more stretch we're going to do. A little bit for our shoulder. I'm going to recommend that you have some type of object. It can be using the wall. It could be using a chair. Whatever it might be, I'm going to show you 2 options. The easier option is where you're using an object. The progression is one you're actually going to use the floor. I'm going to place my arm on the inside of the object. My elbow is at a 90-degree angle. I'm grabbing onto the chair, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my body away from the chair. I'm feeling a good stretch through my shoulder and through the back of my shoulder as well. I'm feeling the front pec. I'm feeling the back shoulder blade. Now, something important here is that you try your best to keep your shoulders down and away from your ears. Something else to remember is you're going to want to squeeze that belly nice and tight. The more you can tolerate, the more you're going to try to turn away from that object, whether it's the wall, whether it's a chair, whatever it might be, to get a good enough stretch to that pec. A couple more breaths. We're going to take one more deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Very good. If you found this option to be too easy, I'm going to show you the way that you can make it a little bit more challenging. If you found this option to be a good option for you, I want you to go ahead and switch sides. For those of you that might find this a little bit easy and want a little bit more of a challenge, you're going to lay on your belly. You're going to place that elbow back in that 90-degree angle. You're going to use your other hand as a pivot, and you're going to push off of that hand and turn towards that hand that is pivoting. So I'm going to turn my body just so you can see what's going on. My elbow's at 90 degrees, my hand is flat, and I'm turning. My elbow is staying on the ground, my shoulders are staying away from my ears, but I am feeling that same stretch through the front and through the back again. Again, this option is going to be the more challenging option. So let's take a couple more deep breaths in and out. One more time, we're going to take a nice deep breath in and out. Let's slowly come out of whatever option you're doing or you're on using your object. We've done stretching of the lower body. We've done stretching of the upper body. Let's just kind of shake those muscles out and kind of see how we feel. Hopefully now when you go to stand up, you're going to feel about 10 feet taller. If we have, we've done our job. I hope you found this stretching useful. Any of these options you can mix and match. That's the beauty of this. It doesn't have to be an one thing fits all. You can mix up these options the next time you go to do this. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. Drink tons of water. It's good for you, I promise.